My father-in-law and I engaged in a secret encounter at the hotel. Welcome to the Infidelity Diaries, where secrets unravel and hearts shatter. Delve into the dark and tumultuous tales of betrayal and deceit that lie beneath the surface of infidelity. So many aspects of life I dismissed as mere routine, failing to grasp their profound significance. Yet, on that fateful day, I came to understand just how swiftly everything can unravel. It all began with what was supposed to be an ordinary weekend at my husband's father's country house. But little did we know that this getaway would spiral into a whirlwind of chaos and unforeseen turmoil. They say life can unleash its most shocking surprises when you least anticipate them, and this moment was undoubtedly one of those heart-stopping instances. Daniel and I arrived at his father Edward's cottage in the early hours of the morning. As the sun fought its way through the thick, swirling mist, casting an eerie glow over the landscape, the area was breathtaking, with vibrant green fields stretching endlessly, trees bursting with blossoms, and a serene atmosphere shattered only by the haunting melodies of birdsong. Edward's country house loomed ominously on the hillside, ensnared by gnarled ancient trees and a garden that whispered secrets of the past. To my astonishment, the moment I crossed the threshold, I was confronted with a striking presence that shattered my preconceived notions about Edward. The elderly man stood before me, exuding an unexpected intensity that demanded attention. Edward emerged from the shadows to confront us. He was buoyant, clad in a snug sweater and jeans that clung to his sculpted physique, radiating confidence and allure. Initially, I was taken aback by the striking allure he possessed, far exceeding my recollections. The radiant smile etched on his face and the fierce glimmer in his eyes revealed that he was not merely an aging man, but a soul brimming with untamed vitality and unyielding spirit. With this realization surged an overwhelming sense of unpredictability, as if a dark, uncharted realm was violently unfolding before me. "Father, it's me!" Daniel clung tightly to his father, the weight of the moment pressing down on them both. "How are you holding up?" "Greetings, my son." Edward erupted with overwhelming joy, his heart racing with exhilaration. "I'm managing. Thank you. I'm utterly relieved you made it. How was the drive? Was it a harrowing journey filled with unexpected twists and turns, or a smooth ride that lulled you into a false sense of security?" The journey was both exhilarating and utterly exhausting. We were ensnared in a relentless sea of vehicles, Daniel's eyes darting toward me, a flicker of urgency in his gaze. "Catherine, allow me to unveil the secrets of our home." "Absolutely," I responded, struggling to mask my astonishment at the sheer vitality and allure radiating from Edward. Daniel and Edward plunged deeper into their conversation, the air thick with tension over matters that eluded my grasp, leaving me on the edge of uncertainty. I found myself captivated by the house, feigning interest while my mind raced with unspoken thoughts and hidden emotions. As they engaged in meaningless chatter, Edward suddenly proposed an unsettling tour of the house, his eyes glinting with a hidden intensity. "Very well, Catherine, if you can bear it, I shall unveil the secrets of the garden to you." The scene was breathtaking, a stark contrast to the tension that hung in the air. Edward insisted, his voice barely above a whisper. "Oh, that sounds absolutely captivating," I replied, my heart racing with anticipation. "It feels like an eternity since I last stood in a place so breathtakingly beautiful." As we stepped outside, the air crackled with anticipation. My heart raced at the sight of the wild, untamed beauty around us, and Edward, sensing my exhilaration, launched into a fervent tale about the garden, his voice rising with intensity. When I first arrived, this garden was a chaotic wilderness, untamed and brimming with raw, unrestrained energy. With a fierce intensity in his voice, Edward declared, "Laura and I poured our hearts and souls into transforming this place into what you see now." As he gestured dramatically towards the meticulously cared-for flower beds, "It's truly remarkable," I observed with a sense of awe. "I am particularly captivated by the meticulous organization of everything." "Thank you," Edward smiled, his eyes blazing with an intense pride that seemed to electrify the air around us. Our passion for nurturing the plants burned fiercely within us. It was our perilous adventure. Our conversation surged with an electric intensity, and I could sense that Edward was evolving into something far more significant than merely a father-in-law. His tale of the garden was steeped in personal revelations, each word dripping with raw sincerity and unguarded vulnerability. "You know, when Laura and I first embarked on this garden project," Edward continued, "I was certain that success was beyond our grasp, yet she unwaveringly believed in our potential. Indeed, we were—" Edward paused, a heavy silence enveloping him, then added with a deep, aching sorrow. Now I do it all in her memory. It fuels my determination to preserve her essence, igniting a fire within me that refuses to be extinguished. A wave of discomfort washed over me, yet I grasped the gravity of the moment as Edward bared his soul. The event was a pivotal turning point in our tumultuous relationship, fraught with unspoken truths and raw emotions. As the sun hung low in the sky, we found ourselves entwined in each other's presence. Wandering through the garden, our conversations weaving a tapestry of thoughts that danced on the edge of revelation, we stumbled back to the house, where Edward insisted we take a moment to catch our breath before the impending dinner. "I'll go prepare something light," Edward declared, his voice cutting through the heavy silence, as Daniel, oblivious to the world around him, plunged deeper into his relentless work. "Catherine, I urgently need your assistance in the kitchen. Time is crucial, and the risks have never been greater." "Absolutely," I replied, a surge of excitement coursing through me as I recognized the present as a pivotal moment to delve deeper into the enigmatic world of Edward. In the kitchen, as we frantically prepared dinner, the conversation escalated, charged with tension and unspoken fears. With a heart pounding in my chest, I replied, my gaze locked onto him, filled with a deep and unwavering respect. I grasped the profound significance of having unwavering support during such tumultuous times. As our conversation unfolded, I couldn't shake the feeling that Edward was more than just intelligent and handsome. He possessed an undeniable charisma that electrified the air around us, weaving a tapestry of comfort and intrigue that drew me in deeper with every word exchanged. The atmosphere closed in around me, thick with anticipation, and I realized that our weekend here would be rife with shocking revelations. As the tantalizing aroma of dinner filled the air, Edward, Daniel, and I took our seats at the table, the weight of unspoken tension hanging heavily between us. As the evening unfolded, an undeniable tension crackled in the air, deepening our interaction with Edward into something raw and profoundly personal. Edward's unwavering attention and unexpected kindness struck me like a thunderbolt, a revelation that shattered my previous understanding of compassion. That night, as the flames danced wildly in the fireplace, I hung on every word of Edward's tales, feeling an electric connection that crackled in the air between us. In that fleeting instant, it felt as though I was unearthing a profound truth about existence, a revelation that had long eluded my grasp, shrouded in shadows until now. I lay in bed, consumed by the thrilling uncertainty of what lay ahead, knowing that countless unexpected moments awaited me, each one more captivating than the last. And though the depths of my confusion lingered, one undeniable truth clawed at my mind. Something about Edward had ensnared me in its relentless grip. This weekend would unravel in a way I could never have foreseen. The evening descended with a startling swiftness, casting shadows that seemed to whisper secrets of impending turmoil. After I finished assisting Edward in the kitchen, I caught sight of Daniel, utterly absorbed in his work, and an unsettling tension thickened in the air. Edward proposed an evening by the flickering flames of the fireplace, and I eagerly embraced his invitation. Anticipation coursing through me, I felt a surge of gratitude for his sacrifice, and I braced myself for what I hoped would be a peaceful evening, unaware of the storm that was about to unfold. The fireplace in Edward's home pulsed with an intensity that enveloped the room, casting flickering shadows that danced like restless spirits in the night. The golden light flooded the room, casting an intense and almost haunting glow that enveloped everything in its path. Igniting a sense of urgency and anticipation, I sank into the depths of a plush armchair, my heart racing as Edward claimed the sofa across from me, the air thick with unspoken tension. He poured the deep crimson wine into the glasses, the liquid swirling like a tempest, as we plunged into a conversation that crackled with the weight of our unspoken thoughts. "You know, Catherine," Edward said, his voice low and charged, "I don't often get the chance to talk so peacefully." He raised his glass, the tension in the air palpable. "I'm relieved you're here. I'm thrilled to be here." "Edward," I replied, as the fierce warmth from the fire engulfed me, penetrating every fiber of my being. "This is, without a doubt, a place of profound significance." With a solemn nod, he caressed the aged furniture, his fingers trembling as memories surged like a tempest within him. "This house is a haunting tapestry of memories, each corner echoing with the weight of the past. My Laura always insisted that the walls held secrets, whispering tales of the past to those who dared to listen." I observed the way his eyes glimmered with an unexpected tenderness as he spoke her name, Laura. It was a fleeting moment, yet it held a weight that lingered in the air, charged with unspoken emotions. Edward was undeniably bound to these memories, each one a haunting echo of his past. "What was the fateful moment when you and Laura crossed paths?" I inquired, my curiosity burning within me. Edward took a small, trembling sip of wine, plunging himself into the depths of his haunting memories. "It was many years ago," he began, his gaze darkening with a weight of memories long buried. "Our paths collided at a university party, where the air crackled with anticipation and unspoken tension. In those days, I was brimming with fierce ambition, a fire igniting my every thought and action. She was utterly captivating, her eyes shimmering with a fierce intensity that ignited a fire within me, making me feel as though I had unearthed something profoundly significant. That sounds like a haunting fairy tale," I said, struggling to envision the tumultuous youth they must have endured. "What transpired next?" We grew close with a fierce intensity. Edward continued, and I could see the way his face softened, haunted by the weight of the memory. We journeyed far and wide, uncovering hidden realms, and each heartbeat was charged with significance. She was my compass, a relentless force guiding me through the tumultuous storms of life. His voice trembled with an undercurrent of sorrow, compelling me to lean in closer, sensing the weight of unspoken truths that demanded my full attention. "It must have been an unbearable struggle to confront the depths of her loss," I remarked. "I can hardly fathom the immense struggle that must entail." "Indeed, it was a struggle," Edward confessed, his voice heavy with the weight of his truth. "There are days when I awaken, heart racing, anticipating her presence, longing for her to emerge from the shadows and whisper, 'Good morning.' But then a chilling realization washes over me. It will never happen again." In those haunting moments, I cling desperately to these memories, battling the shadows of loss, striving to summon gratitude for the fleeting time we shared. His words pierced through the silence, igniting a fierce connection that crackled with unspoken intensity between us. We pressed on with our conversation, the weight of his emotions hanging heavily in the air, and I fought to navigate the turbulent waters of his heart. He revealed the depths of Laura's fervent love for painting, recounting the intense moments they shared as they poured their souls into the masterpieces that still clung to the walls of the house, each brushstroke a testament to their shared passion. Edward gazed at the painting on the wall, a storm of emotions swirling within him. He marveled at her uncanny ability to uncover beauty in the most ordinary of things, a talent that both inspired and haunted him. She had the uncanny ability to transform the most mundane object into a breathtaking masterpiece. "That's incredible," I said, my heart racing as I witnessed the flicker of a warm light igniting in his eyes. "You must have absorbed a wealth of knowledge from her." "Indeed, those were lessons that would echo through eternity," he replied, his gaze deepening with a weighty contemplation. "At times, an overwhelming sensation grips me, as if a fragment of her essence lingers within these walls, haunting every object, every shadow." A heavy silence enveloped us, and I felt the tension rise as Edward plunged back into his tale, the air thick with anticipation. "Sometimes I find myself consumed by the haunting question of what I could have done differently," he said, "to be more attentive, more supportive, as if those choices could have altered the very fabric of our reality." But then a harsh truth struck me. We are all fallible, ensnared in our own web of errors, and the path to redemption lies in the agonizing journey of self-forgiveness. His shocking revelations, his raw openness, and the commanding yet soothing quality of his voice forged an electrifying atmosphere that drew me irresistibly closer to him. "I believe you fought with every ounce of strength you had, Edward." I struggled to conceal the turmoil within me, and that is undeniably the most crucial element. "Thank you," he smiled once more, and in that moment, his smile held an intoxicating allure that seemed to captivate the very air around us. "That's truly exhilarating to hear." In that electrifying moment, as I sat by the crackling fireplace, enveloped in the fierce warmth of the flames, I sensed an undeniable tension igniting between us, something profound and uncharted beginning to take shape. I fought to suppress my feelings, fully aware that such emotions could shatter the very foundation of the world I had always known. However, as the hours passed in Edward's company, a powerful force began to permeate every aspect of my life, drawing me further into a turbulent bond that I fully struggled to understand. As time dragged on, our conversations by the flickering fireplace deepened, igniting an atmosphere thick with unspoken truths, compelling us to bare our souls in ways we had never dared before. A chilling awareness washed over me, signaling that this evening was destined to etch itself into the very fabric of our lives, a moment that would haunt our memories for years to come. As Edward and I engaged in conversation, an electric tension crackled between us, deepening the intimacy of our exchange and infusing it with a weighty significance that felt almost palpable. This evening marked the onset of a tumultuous journey, one that I could barely grasp. Yet an undeniable force whispered that it would irrevocably alter everything I knew. The evening following our first conversation by the fireplace was charged with emotion, yet I fought to maintain my composure amidst the swirling intensity of the moment. As Daniel and Edward toiled relentlessly throughout the day, I ventured into the shadowy corners of the house, immersing myself in its hauntingly cozy ambiance, where every creak and whisper seemed to echo with untold stories. As the day's toil came to a close, we found ourselves drawn once more to the flickering flames of the fireplace, a sanctuary that had transformed into our sacred ground for whispered secrets and fervent discussions. Edward, brimming with excitement, urged us to crack open the bottle of wine that had remained untouched the night before, a tantalizing promise of indulgence hanging in the air. I eagerly grasped the glass, my heart racing as I sank into the very same sofa that had cradled me in its embrace the night before. The room was shrouded in a dim, flickering light, casting eerie shadows that danced ominously across the walls, heightening the tension in the air. We resumed our dialogue, and this time, the exchange plunged into the depths of our souls. Edward began, "You know, Catherine," a storm of thoughts swirling in my mind. "The haunting resemblance you bear to Laura has consumed me. It may sound peculiar, but there's an undeniable force within you that resurrects haunting memories of her." My gaze locked onto him, shock coursing through me as I struggled to comprehend the weight of his words. Edward's gaze pierced through me, his every word resonating with an intensity that stirred something profound within my soul. "How is it that I evoke memories of her in you?" I inquired, my mind racing with a tempest of possibilities about the hidden motives lurking behind this unexpected compliment. Edward halted, the weight of the moment pressing down on him as he meticulously selected each word, knowing the gravity of what lay ahead. "In your eyes, in your kindness," he declared, "there lies an echo of Laura's unwavering compassion, a haunting reminder of her relentless devotion to those in need. Yet, beneath the surface, your smile radiates an intensity that captivates the heart, revealing layers of sincerity that stir the soul." His words, though simple, pierced through the layers of my soul, igniting a fire in the deepest recesses of my heart. A wave of vulnerability washed over me, a sensation that was both intoxicating and deeply unsettling. "That's incredibly generous of you, Edward," I replied, struggling to mask the torrent of emotion that threatened to engulf me. "I strive with every fiber of my being to embody kindness and consideration." A tense silence enveloped the room, thick with an electric charge of unspoken emotions. Edward's piercing gaze locked onto mine, igniting a fire within me that sent my heart racing uncontrollably. The intensity in his gaze unsettled me, as if something unspoken hovered between us, too complicated to name down my spine, impossible to dismiss. The weight of the moment pressed down on us, an unspoken tension crackling in the air as we locked eyes, each of us adrift in a tempest of unvoiced emotions. In a moment charged with unspoken emotion, I found myself reaching out, my fingers trembling as they brushed against his face, desperate to convey the depth of my gratitude for his heartfelt words. "Thank you for sharing those memories with me, Edward," I said, my heart racing as I leaned in, the air thick with unspoken tension, and pressed my lips softly against his cheek. That kiss, initially intended as a mere gesture of gratitude and appreciation, ignited an electric spark the moment my lips brushed against his skin. In that fleeting instant, an overwhelming wave of emotion surged between us, transforming. The air thickened with unresolved tension and emotions too complex to express aloud. My heart raced uncontrollably, and I watched as Edward suddenly went rigid. His skin radiated warmth, a softness that ignited a surge of unexpected pleasure beneath my lips, sending shivers coursing through me. Edward's gaze pierced through me, a whirlwind of shock and intensity swirling in his eyes, revealing a depth of emotion I had never seen before. I felt him slowly, almost with a heavy heart, turn his head towards me, and his expression shifted, overwhelmed by emotion. And in a fleeting moment, a line was crossed that neither of us had foreseen. We found ourselves caught in a moment of raw emotion, where boundaries blurred, and everything felt impossibly intense that crackled with an electric intensity, igniting a fire within me that I had never known before. "Catherine," he breathed, his voice trembling with urgency. I never intended for everything to spiral out of control so fast. A rush of heat flooded my cheeks as the weight of the moment crashed down on me. This kiss, unexpected and charged with emotion, held a significance that I had never foreseen, altering everything in an instant. "I'm so sorry." I struggled to maintain my composure amidst the turmoil that threatened to engulf me. That was utterly unacceptable. "No," Edward reached out, his voice laced with vulnerability, as he struggled to make sense of everything unraveling between us. "That is not at all what I intended." In that fleeting moment, an undeniable surge of something extraordinary coursed through me. I let out a heavy sigh and fixed my gaze on him, my heart racing as I caught the flicker of surprise intertwined with a haunting gentleness in his eyes. In that electrifying moment, I understood that what had ignited between us was far more than a mere spontaneous kiss. It was the spark of something profound and undeniable. It was the beginning of an upheaval that I couldn't entirely grasp, yet it was already reshaping the very foundation of our relationship. The evening dragged on, the flickering flames of the fireplace casting ominous shadows as we engaged in a tense exchange of words, each topic heavy with unspoken truths. Yet, the unseen bond forged by our kiss hung heavily in the air, electrifying the atmosphere with an intensity that was almost palpable. I fought desperately to banish the haunting memories of that fateful day, yet it was undeniable that this moment had become a pivotal juncture, one that threatened to shatter the very foundations of my once ordinary existence. As the hour approached for slumber, an undeniable tension hung in the air, signaling that my relationship with Edward had plunged into uncharted territory. This was an unforeseen twist, yet deep down, I sensed that this evening would etch itself into my memory, haunting me for years to come. The following day, I awoke, burdened by an overwhelming sense of dread. Sunlight struggled to pierce through the curtains, yet its feeble brightness was powerless against the storm of turmoil brewing in my mind. I fought against the piercing morning light, tossing and turning in a desperate bid to reclaim the fleeting echoes of the previous evening. Yet, the memories of that fateful day continued to torment my every waking moment. With a heavy heart, I rose from the confines of my bed, each movement laden with an unshakable weight, and made my way to the kitchen, the air thick with anticipation. The decor of the country house, once warm and inviting, now felt eerily alien, as if it were a haunting reminder of a past that had slipped away into darkness. A wave of guilt crashed over me as I thought of Daniel, the weight of my choices pressing down like a heavy shroud. I had let myself be swept into a storm of events that should have remained untouched, and the consequences loomed ominously in the shadows. My sense of guilt surged within me, a relentless tide, as I grappled with how to confront Edward after the storm that had erupted between us. Daniel's own turbulent thoughts consumed him, leaving me with a heavy silence that enabled me to avoid any confrontation with Edward. All day long, I fought to evade him, pouring every ounce of my energy into mundane tasks and household chores, desperate to keep my mind occupied and my heart from racing. I threw myself into preparing breakfast and lunch, scrubbing surfaces with fervor, desperate to drown out the chaos swirling in my mind. Throughout the turmoil, the relentless thoughts of how to confront the situation gnawed at my mind, refusing to let me find peace. Yet, no matter how desperately I tried to evade Edward, he tracked me down. It unfolded after lunch, as I sought solace in the garden, desperately clutching a book, yearning to escape the haunting memories that refused to fade. "Catherine," his voice pierced through the silence, and I turned to find Edward at the door, his eyes ablaze with a mix of tension and longing that sent a shiver down my spine. "We need to talk now." I rose to my feet, locking eyes with him, my heart pounding violently in my chest. The weight of the moment pressed down on me, a storm brewing in the depths of my mind. I wasn't prepared for this conversation, yet I understood that evading it would only plunge us deeper into chaos. "Absolutely," I responded, my voice trembling as I fought to maintain my composure. "What is it?" We sank onto the bench in the garden, the air thick with tension as I watched Edward draw in several deep breaths, a storm brewing behind his eyes before he finally began to speak. "Catherine," I must express my deepest regrets for the turmoil that unfolded yesterday. Yet, I feel compelled to lay bare the truth before you. My heart raced wildly, pounding against my chest with an intensity that left me breathless. The air crackled with tension as I faced the unavoidable confrontation with Edward. My heart raced, and a chill ran down my spine. The moment had arrived, and it was more daunting than I had ever imagined. "What is it that you truly desire to reveal?" I inquired, battling fiercely to conceal the turmoil raging within me. "I have feelings for you that I can't ignore," Edward began, his voice trembling with raw emotion. "What transpired between us was a grave error, yet I cannot conceal the truth any longer. All this time, I harbored feelings for you that transcended mere respect or friendship." I stood paralyzed, my mind ensnared in the web of his words. A tempest raged within me, my inner state teetering on the brink as I fought against the relentless desires that threatened to consume me. "Edward, I'm at a loss for words," I said, my anxiety surging to an unbearable peak. "Daniel relentlessly consumes my thoughts, and the weight of what happened looms over me like a dark cloud, demanding confrontation. I never intended for the situation to spiral into a conflict between us." "I understand," Edward said, his eyes brimming with a storm of sympathy, "and I refuse to let you carry the weight of guilt." A whirlwind of emotions engulfed us both, and I find myself grappling with the tumult of my feelings. "You must understand that none of this is on you." His words pierced through the chaos, soothing yet laced with the promise of turmoil that loomed ahead. A storm ready to unravel everything. I could no longer suppress the tumult of my emotions, and throughout this agonizing journey, I had desperately sought a way to navigate the chaos within me. "What path lies ahead for us?" I pleaded, grappling with the tumult of these overwhelming emotions that threatened to consume me. "We must delve deep into our souls and confront the truths that lie within us, for only then can we uncover what truly matters," Edward replied, his voice heavy with urgency. "Yet, regardless of the path we choose, I refuse to let you carry the weight of guilt or shame. It must never be that way." His words pierced through the silence, and I felt the weight of his hand as it gripped my shoulder, igniting a storm of emotions within me. The seemingly simple gesture radiates an intensity of warmth and unwavering support, leaving an indelible mark on my soul. "I will find a way to unravel this, Edward," I declared, battling the storm of chaos within me. However, I recognized the pressing nature of our circumstances. We find ourselves engulfed in a tornado of emotions that require our focus. We must confront the depths of our feelings and the profound impact they may have on our lives. 1. We sat together in the garden, the air thick with tension, each heartbeat echoing the weight of unspoken words that hung between us, heavy and suffocating, begging to be released yet remaining trapped in the shadows of our hearts. In that electrifying moment, I understood that we stood at a precipice, a pivotal juncture that would irrevocably alter the course of our lives. The weight of the decisions before us loomed heavy, demanding our utmost resolve as we contemplated the perilous path ahead. In that electrifying moment, a palpable shift coursed through our interaction, igniting an unspoken tension that hung heavily in the air. It was more than a mere conversation. It was a pivotal moment when we laid bare our souls, confronting the raw intensity of our emotions and the undeniable truth of our feelings. Despite the overwhelming challenges and the haze of uncertainty that surrounded us, I felt an undeniable spark, an ominous prelude to a profound connection that would demand our attention and comprehension in the days to come. The following day, following our raw and revealing exchange in the garden, the air in the house crackled with tension, transformed by an unspoken weight. Edward and I, acutely conscious of the turmoil that surrounded us, resolved to escape the confines of our home for the day, seeking a fleeting reprieve from the haunting shadows of our past troubles. The notion of a walk through the nearby woods loomed ominously, a stark contrast to the gravity of our situation. Yet, in that moment, it became our desperate attempt to claw back a shred of normalcy amidst the chaos that threatened to engulf us. We donned our most comfortable clothes, a subtle preparation for the journey ahead, and stepped out of the house, our hearts racing as we ventured towards the looming forest that loomed ominously just beyond the estate. The air was sharp and invigorating, a stark and exhilarating contrast to the sweltering, oppressive heat we had endured trapped within those suffocating walls. "I've always been captivated by this part of the forest," Edward declared, his eyes locked onto the vast, vibrant green stretches that lay ahead of us. "The atmosphere here is deceptively tranquil, yet every step I take through this hauntingly familiar place sends a shiver down my spine. as if the shadows themselves are whispering secrets of the past. It feels like home, but a home steeped in tension and unspoken fears. I nodded, engulfed by the cacophony of nature and the overwhelming serenity that the walk had unleashed within me. Our footsteps echoed ominously along the forest path, and I couldn't shake the feeling that Edward's demeanor had shifted, revealing a vulnerability that hung heavy in the air. His conversations danced on the surface, seemingly light and effortless, yet I sensed an underlying tension as he fought to uphold a facade of positivity. Birds screeched in a frantic chorus, and the sun's harsh rays pierced through the leaves, casting eerie, flickering shadows on the ground. Occasionally, we halted our relentless march to examine captivating plants or the haunting imprints of animal tracks, a desperate attempt to divert our minds from the tumult of our emotions. I felt the weight of Edward's gaze upon me, a relentless pursuit that sent shivers down my spine. As our conversations spiraled into the depths of intimacy, "You know, Catherine," Edward began, "I've always believed that the forest is a realm where the shadows whisper secrets and the trees hold the weight of unanswered questions. In this place, I sensed the freedom to truly unveil my essence." I gazed into his eyes and was met with an inferno of intensity. The oppressive atmosphere of the forest enveloped us, and in that charged silence, our souls laid bare. We found ourselves drawn into an uncharted intimacy, revealing truths we had long kept hidden. I grasped your meaning, my heart racing with an intensity that was impossible to ignore. I sense a profound shift within me in this place, an unsettling awareness that something has changed irrevocably. Perhaps it is the forest that shrouds us in its shadows, allowing us to escape the clutches of the outside world and reveal our most authentic selves. Our steps faltered, and Edward drew closer, his expression a tumultuous blend of gravity and deep affection. His warmth and attention enveloped me, intensifying with an almost electric charge. "Catherine," he declared, "the weight of my emotions can no longer be concealed. The events that transpired between us have profoundly transformed everything, and I can no longer ignore them." My heart quaked violently at his words. In that moment, the weight of his words crashed down on me like a thunderstorm, and I realized he was undeniably right. The connection between us was electric, a force so powerful that it demanded to be acknowledged, leaving no room for denial. "Edward," I said, "the weight of it is suffocating, and I feel it, too, but a chilling dread grips me, for I fear this situation could spiral into chaos far beyond what it already is." Edward's piercing gaze locked onto mine, a storm of emotion swirling within his eyes, intense and unwavering. He leaned in with a palpable tension, his breath hitching as his lips brushed against mine in a tentative, electrifying kiss. This kiss was charged with the weight of every tumultuous emotion we had endured in recent days. The kiss ignited a fire within me, a whirlwind of tenderness and raw passion that I could no longer fight against. A tempest of inner turmoil subsided, yielding to a surge of raw, unfiltered emotions. We were both utterly consumed by the moment, and the forest around us pulsed with an intimacy and thrill that mirrored the intensity of our connection. As the kiss faded, we clung to each other, and an undeniable connection surged between us, electric and consuming. Edward's gaze pierced through me, filled with an overwhelming intensity of affection and love that sent shivers down my spine. I couldn't pinpoint the exact nature of what lay ahead, but in that moment, an electric tension crackled between us, transcending mere physical attraction. Their bond was a tumultuous whirlwind of feelings, an overwhelming force that defied description. As we stepped back into our home, a surge of emotions washed over me. The air was thick with tension, and I realized that our relationship with Edward had spiraled into a labyrinth of complexities, yet it pulsed with an undeniable depth that made every moment feel charged with significance. We were acutely aware that a treacherous journey awaited us, yet we grasped the profound significance of the trials we had faced together, a bond forged in the crucible of adversity. I clung to the desperate hope that, against all odds, we could untangle the chaos of our emotions and carve out a path that would somehow be just right for both of us. But that evening, as we sat by the flickering flames of the fireplace, our eyes locked in a charged silence, it became painfully evident that our interaction had transformed into something profoundly extraordinary, a connection that pulsed with unspoken intensity. After a day fraught with tension, marked by restless walks through the hauntingly beautiful countryside and conversations that seemed to stretch into eternity, I sensed an urgent need for privacy and a dramatic shift in our surroundings. Edward and I deliberated, our voices low and urgent, finally concluding that an evening at a secluded hotel in a nearby town would be the ultimate escape, a chance to be together away from the watchful gaze of the world. We plunged into the night, racing down the illuminated roads, the tension thick in the air. The evening was frigid, the air sharp and biting, setting an ominous stage for a clandestine meeting shrouded in tension. The atmosphere around us was deceptively peaceful, a stark contrast to the storm brewing within our hearts, threatening to unravel our carefully laid plans. The hotel we chose was hidden away, shrouded in an eerie stillness that hinted at secrets untold. As soon as we stepped into the room, an overwhelming wave of warmth and tranquility crashed over me, igniting a fierce intensity within my soul. Every essential element surrounded us, plush chairs beckoned. The warm glow of the lighting enveloped the room, and an atmosphere thick with tranquility held us captive. As we stepped into the room, Edward's voice cut through the tension. "Well, here we are. I truly hope this place captivates you." I scanned the surroundings, a surge of satisfaction coursing through me as I nodded, the weight of the moment heavy in the air. "This is precisely what we desperately need," I replied, my voice trembling with urgency. "Everything appears to be flawlessly orchestrated." Edward urged us to take a seat on the couch, his voice laced with an urgency that sent a shiver down my spine. He then strode purposefully to the small table, where an array of light snacks lay waiting, their innocence stark against the tension in the air. With a trembling hand, he thrust a steaming cup of tea towards me, his eyes locked onto mine as he settled into the chair beside me, the air thick with unspoken tension. Our eyes locked, and I felt an electric charge in the air, a depth in his gaze that hinted at something far more profound than mere kindness. There was an overwhelming surge of warmth and an aching tenderness that enveloped everything in its path. "Catherine," he began, his voice trembling with urgency, "this evening, I yearn to be with you, to engage in deep conversation and unwind together. We need not engage in anything extraordinary. We must simply savor the intensity of this moment." We huddled together, the air thick with tension as our conversation plunged into the depths of our souls. Edward recounted the harrowing tales of his life, revealing the depths of his sorrow and the relentless struggle to endure after the devastating loss of his wife. Each word pierced through the air, resonating with a profound intensity that gripped my heart. His voice trembled with raw emotion, and I hung on every word, my heart racing with empathy and urgency. "You know, Catherine," he said, "it's been hard finding peace these past years, but your kindness has reminded me that connection can still exist, even in life's darkest storms, a lifeline in the chaos that surrounds us." Our conversations deepened, and I found myself revealing my innermost thoughts to him, each word laden with unspoken tension. "Edward," I declared, my heart racing, "I sense an undeniable connection between us that transcends the ordinary. In the face of overwhelming challenges, every moment spent with you becomes a fierce battle against the odds, igniting a passion that defies all obstacles." He edged closer, his face looming ominously as the tension thickened in the air. Edward's presence overwhelmed me, a closeness that blurred the lines between comfort and confusion. The warmth radiating from him was intoxicating, pulling me closer into a whirlwind of desire I never saw coming. Our eyes locked, igniting a fierce surge of electric tension that crackled in the air around us. "Catherine," he breathed, "the weight of my emotions is too heavy to bear any longer. I crave to be with you, not merely in body, but in the depths of our souls, entwined in a connection that transcends the surface." A tidal wave of emotions crashed over me, threatening to consume every ounce of my being. This was not merely attraction, it was an unbreakable bond that pulsed with intensity. A moment passed between us, an intensity in our gaze that suggested something neither of us dared to voice aloud. The kiss lingered, a powerful force that consumed us, as the world around us dissolved into mere shadows, eclipsed by the intensity of our connection. Edward gripped me fiercely, and I sensed the electricity between us surging, each moment thickening with an undeniable tension. As we broke apart, a surge of realization coursed through me. This was merely the beginning of our bond, and the intensity of our connection was deepening with every heartbeat. The inner tension and doubts that had once consumed me began to unravel, replaced by a surge of powerful emotions that coursed through my veins like wildfire. The evening dragged on, each moment stretching into an eternity as we clung to every heartbeat, every whispered word, knowing that time was slipping away from us. I sensed that our stay at this hotel marked the onset of something monumental, and despite the weight of the moral quandaries looming over us, I was prepared to dive deep into the tumultuous emotions swirling between us. The morning dawned with an unsettling calm, yet an electric tension crackled in the air, hinting at the chaos that lay just beneath the surface. We had shared an emotionally overwhelming evening, one that left us both reeling with confusion and unresolved feelings. A moment that should have been blissful, yet my mind was engulfed in a storm of guilt and dread, haunted by the uncertainty of what lay ahead. I felt the weight of our deepening relationship, yet the dark specter of betrayal loomed over me, tormenting my every thought as I grappled with the guilt of deceiving Daniel. The morning unfolded with a tense air as we navigated our daily routines, each moment heavy with unspoken secrets. Soon, we made the fateful decision to return to Edward's country house, a calculated move to ensure that Daniel, oblivious to the brewing storm, would remain unsuspecting of the turmoil lurking beneath the surface. A palpable tension hung in the air, an ominous sense that something monumental was on the verge of unfolding, yet I couldn't grasp the exact nature of the impending storm. Upon our return, we found Daniel waiting for us, his presence heavy with unspoken tension. He appeared worn down, a flicker of irritation dancing in his eyes, a reaction all too expected after an excruciatingly long day at work. We greeted him, and I felt the weight of his gaze as it fixated on Edward, a silence thickening the air between us, heavy with unspoken words. The air in the house thickened with an oppressive tension, and I did my utmost to evade any interaction with Daniel, desperate to remain beneath his radar and escape his piercing gaze. As the night deepened and shadows crept through the dimly lit house, I felt an unsettling urge to check the messages on my phone after Daniel retreated to his room. A wave of urgency washed over me as I realized the multitude of unread messages waiting in my inbox, each one a silent echo of moments I had failed to confront. As I pried them open, my heart raced at the sight of a familiar name. One of them was from Edward. The message surged with raw emotions, overflowing with declarations of love and tenderness that took me completely by surprise. My heart pounded violently in my chest, and the weight of my guilt surged to an unbearable crescendo. In that electrifying moment, I heard the ominous echo of footsteps and spun around, heart racing. Daniel stood in the doorway, his face etched with worry and tension, a storm of emotions brewing within him. His grip on the phone tightened as he stared at me, suspicion etched across his face, a storm brewing in his eyes. "Catherine," he uttered, his voice quaking with raw emotion, "I must speak with you immediately. I've stumbled upon a revelation that demands my full attention." My heart raced uncontrollably, each beat echoing like a thunderous drum in my chest. His words hovered in the air, laden with the weight of revelation. I struggled to grasp the reality of what he was saying, the truth clawing at my insides, refusing to be ignored. It was a bitter pill to swallow, the acceptance of a dark reality that had unfolded beyond my control. Daniel advanced toward me, his face a storm of fury, flushed and intense. "What are you trying to say?" I struggled to maintain my composure as a storm of panic raged within me. Daniel thrust his phone into my hands, urgency radiating from him. On the screen flickered an open message from Edward, a raw outpouring of his emotions, recounting the haunting memories of our last night together. A wave of weakness crashed over my legs, and I struggled to summon the words that could capture the gravity of the situation. "Daniel, I can explain," I began, my voice quaking with uncertainty, each word slipping through my fingers like sand, leaving me desperate for the right ones to emerge. "How could you do this?" Daniel cut me off, his voice trembling with anguish and disillusionment. "How could you betray me like this, shatter my father's trust, and tear apart our family?" My eyes burned as tears threatened to spill over, a storm of emotion raging within me. My heart shattered under the weight of the devastating truth that all I had desperately concealed was now laid bare. A chilling realization gripped me. My actions had shattered every moral boundary, and now I stood on the precipice, ready to confront the inevitable consequences that loomed ahead. Daniel, I am left speechless. I was utterly foolish and gravely mistaken. I never intended to inflict pain upon you, yet what unfolded was utterly beyond my grasp. Daniel's breath escaped in a heavy sigh as he leaned back, his face contorted in a fierce blend of anger and profound disappointment. The turmoil of his thoughts and emotions raged within him, a tempest that was agonizing for me to witness. What drove you to this madness? What drove you to that edge? I gazed at him, my tears streaming down uncontrollably. I realized that no words could ever capture the magnitude of what had transpired. I stood on the precipice of revelation, poised to unravel the tumult of my emotions and dissect the magnetic pull that Edward had on me. Yet, beneath the surface, a chilling realization gripped my heart. It was all futile now. I cannot justify my actions, I declared, my voice trembling with the weight of my turmoil. In my turmoil, I found myself lost, desperately reaching for solace in the shadows of my choices. It was a grave error, and I offer my deepest apologies. Daniel fell into a heavy silence, his expression a storm of turmoil as he grappled with the weight of the revelation that had just shattered his world. His face bore the weight of exhaustion and despair. And in that moment, I realized that our lives were irrevocably altered forever. I don't know what to do next, he whispered, his voice trembling with uncertainty. I am overwhelmed and desperately need time to unravel the chaos of my emotions. Forgetting all of those feelings is simply impossible, I nodded, the weight of realization crashing down on me, knowing that our relationship had irrevocably changed, shattering the remnants of what it once was. A profound emptiness consumed me, leaving me with no choice but to grant Daniel the time and space he desperately needed to navigate the tumultuous storm of his emotions. As Daniel walked out the door, an overwhelming silence enveloped me. Alone on the couch, I was consumed by a storm of thoughts, replaying the harrowing events that had just unfolded. It struck me like a thunderclap that my actions had irrevocably altered the very fabric of our existence. Now, we stood on the precipice, grappling with the devastating fallout, desperate to piece together the shattered remnants of what once was. That day, when Daniel revealed his decision, the air in the room thickened, pressing down on me like an impending storm. He stood firm and unyielding, a fortress of calm amidst the tempest that, I could only surmise, was violently churning within him. We sat in the living room, and with every word he spoke, I felt them pierce through the air, embedding themselves deep within my heart, leaving an unforgettable scar. Catherine, he began, his voice trembling with urgency. I've been consumed by thoughts of us, our future looming like a dark cloud, and I've reached a heart-wrenching decision. I cannot carry on with this relationship any longer. The papers for divorce have been submitted. Every word he uttered struck me like a dagger, piercing deep into my heart. I struggled to summon the strength to respond, yet the words clung to my throat like a vice, refusing to escape. I sat there, paralyzed, as the very foundation of everything we had forged disintegrated right before my eyes. Daniel, I began, my voice trembling with urgency. I fully grasp the weight of my choices, and I am not here to defend what I have done, though the past is unalterable. I am haunted by the anguish I've inflicted upon you, and my heart aches with profound remorse. He lingered in silence, the tension thickening in the air, broken only by the faint, relentless hum of the air conditioner, a stark reminder of the stillness that enveloped the room. Daniel's gaze pierced through me, a tumultuous blend of fury and sorrow swirling in his eyes. He was visibly struggling to gather his thoughts, desperately seeking a way to forge ahead amidst the chaos swirling around him. We sat in a suffocating silence, the gravity of the situation bearing down on my shoulders like an insurmountable burden. A storm brewed within me, a cacophony of thoughts clamoring for attention as I braced myself for the tumultuous journey that awaited. When do you intend to ignite the tumultuous journey of divorce? I inquired, fully aware that it was nothing more than a hollow formality. Daniel's resolve was unyielding, and I sensed we were about to embark on a harrowing and excruciating journey. I've already begun, he shot back, a fierce determination burning in his eyes. In the days ahead, critical meetings with lawyers will be arranged, setting the stage for high-stakes discussions that could alter everything. I yearned for everything to unfold with breathtaking speed and flawless precision. A torrent of bitterness surged through me, overwhelming my senses. I was acutely aware that this journey would be fraught with challenges, and the weight of its potential impact on both of us loomed heavily in my mind. It struck me with a brutal clarity that my choices had shattered the very foundation of everything we once cherished. And the weight of that truth was almost unbearable. I need time to gather my belongings, I said, struggling to maintain my composure. I will depart at the earliest opportunity. Daniel nodded, and an unsettling tension filled the air, transforming our interaction into something starkly formal. We sat in heavy silence, the weight of unspoken words pressing down on us. During that intense moment, I was compelled to face the stark reality of the drastic shift in everything and the pressing decisions that lay ahead. I was forced to confront the harsh truth and brace myself for the impending challenge ahead. In the days that followed, I plunged into the chaos of packing, each item a reminder of what I was leaving behind. The task was an exhausting battle. Leaving a heavy weight on the heart and soul, I sifted through the remnants of our past, each item a haunting reminder of what we once cherished, now overshadowed by the weight of indifference. Each step I took echoed with the weight of what I was forsaking. I fought to maintain my composure, yet there were moments when my emotions surged like a tempest, leaving me gasping for breath. In those chaotic times, I sought refuge in the depths of my solitude. On a fateful day, I resolved to take one last, haunting glance at the house that had once been my sanctuary. I stepped out into the backyard, my heart pounding as I gazed at the garden Daniel and I had once nurtured together, now a haunting reminder of what we had lost. Everything felt utterly alien and insurmountable. With each deliberate step, I felt the weight of the moment pressing down on me as I fought to etch every detail into my mind, desperately clinging to what had now slipped into the shadows of the past. As I completed the packing, an overwhelming sense of relief surged through me, as if a heavy burden had finally been cast aside. I sensed that the present was merely the dawn of a tumultuous journey, fraught with countless trials and tribulations looming on the horizon. I was compelled to return to the city, a place that held the promise of a new life, yet haunted by the remnants of the past that clung to me like shadows in the night. Parting with the house felt like severing ties with a fragment of my very existence, a haunting farewell to a chapter I could never reclaim. I loaded my things into the car, and as I bid farewell to this place, an overwhelming weight settled in my heart, pulling me down into a chasm of despair. The uncertainty loomed like a dark cloud overhead, but I felt an undeniable urge to push through the shadows and embrace the chaos of a new beginning. The drive to the city stretched endlessly before me, each mile a haunting reminder of how drastically everything had transformed. I understood that this shift would be challenging, requiring me to muster all my strength to face the immense obstacles that lay ahead. I stood on the precipice of confrontation, my heart racing, fully aware that this encounter would shatter every expectation I had ever held. As I stepped into the apartment, a wave of tension washed over me, my body and mind surrendering to the moment, but the air crackled with an unspoken tension that hinted at something more lurking in the shadows. As I stood on the precipice of a new chapter in my life, a storm of uncertainty brewed within me, and I braced myself for the tumultuous journey ahead. I realized that a storm of challenges lay ahead, and I clung to the desperate hope that I could summon the strength to conquer them. I perched on the edge of my bed in my new apartment, my heart racing as the rain lashed violently against the windows, each drop a reminder of the storm brewing outside and within. The storm raged violently across the sky, each crack of thunder echoing the chaos that churned within my very soul. As I stepped away from Daniel's home, a surge of hope coursed through me, igniting a fierce determination to forge a new life, one where I could finally seek solace and unwavering support in Edward. I envisioned us forging a future together, casting aside the shadows of our past mistakes and the weight of bitterness that threatened to consume us. But life struck me once again with its unforgiving brutality. Weeks had dragged on, heavy with anticipation, and I knew the moment had come to confront Edward. I yearned for our connection to become the bedrock of something profound and unwavering. We arranged to meet at a bustling cafe in the heart of the city, where I yearned to witness once more that electrifying spark in his eyes that had ignited our connection in the past. As I stepped into the cafe, my eyes locked onto Edward, perched by the window, ensnared in a tempest of his own thoughts. He appeared as striking as always, yet his demeanor was charged with an intense, palpable tension. My heart raced wildly, a frantic drum echoing in my chest, as I fought to contain the tempest of emotions threatening to erupt. "Hello, Edward," I said, my heart racing as I took a seat across from him, the air thick with unspoken tension. "Thank you for coming." He nodded, his gaze locking onto mine with an intensity that sent a shiver down my spine. His weary eyes betrayed a deeper turmoil, igniting a sense of dread within me that something was gravely amiss. "Hello, Catherine," he replied, his voice chillingly calm, sending a shiver down her spine. I hope you weren't expecting too much from this meeting. His words struck like a dagger, making my heart clench in a vice of dread. I steeled myself for the conversation ahead, but the moment he spoke, a chill ran down my spine, shattering any hope that everything would turn out fine. I was desperately yearning for a chance to discuss what lies ahead. I said, my voice trembling with urgency. I needed to grasp the gravity of our next move. Edward exhaled heavily, his gaze piercing through the window. Lost in tumultuous thoughts, his gaze was distant, consumed by a whirlwind of thoughts, and with each passing moment, my anxiety surged to an unbearable peak. Catherine, he began, his voice trembling with emotion. I've wrestled with the shadows of our past, replaying every moment that led us here. I've reached a pivotal moment where I must fiercely defend and elevate my family values above all else. My son, Daniel, and my family are everything to me, and I refuse to let anything shatter those bonds, no matter how tangled and fraught with turmoil they may be. My heart clenched painfully. His words struck me like a thunderclap, reverberating through my very core. I had believed Edward would stand by my side, a pillar of support, but instead, I was met with the harsh reality of his priorities. But what about us? I pleaded, desperation clawing at my throat. I demanded, my voice quaking with raw emotion. We had something extraordinary, Edward. I believed it could be the bedrock for our future. He gazed at me, a storm of regret swirling in his eyes, his gesture a mix of sympathy and unwavering determination. I know our feelings were genuine, he confessed, his voice heavy with the weight of truth. But I cannot turn a blind eye to the repercussions of my choices. I must preserve the fragile peace within my family, even if it means severing our ties. Tears threatened to spill from my eyes, but I battled fiercely to keep them at bay. I fought to conceal the profound pain that pierced through me. I came to the harrowing realization that all my dreams were shattering right before my eyes, and the weight of it was suffocating. I don't know what to say, I whispered, my voice trembling with uncertainty. I just wanted things to be different, to escape this suffocating reality that binds us. But I understand your decision. We remained locked in silence, each heartbeat echoing in the heavy air, stretching the moments into an agonizing eternity. I gazed at Edward, and in his eyes, I could see the weight of this farewell bearing down on him, a silent battle raging within. But his decision was irrevocable, and I understood that nothing could alter the course of what was to come. As we prepared to depart, I noticed the anguish etched across his face, a raw and unfiltered expression of suffering that he could no longer conceal. We clung to each other, our bodies shaking with an intensity that threatened to consume us both. I understood that this farewell was unavoidable, yet the agony it brought was excruciating. I appreciate you meeting with me, I said, struggling to keep my composure intact. Edward nodded, his eyes glistening with unshed tears, a storm of emotions swirling beneath the surface. I turned and stormed out of the cafe, the biting cold air outside slicing through me, amplifying the profound emptiness gnawing at my soul. The weight of solitude crashed down upon me, and I was acutely aware that I was now thrust into this harrowing chapter of my life, irrevocably altered by the choices made. As I stepped outside, the relentless rain battered down, mirroring the shattering of my hopes and dreams. With each step I took, the weight of despair pressed down on me, heavier than the last. I realized that I was on the brink of a new life, a journey fraught with hardship and anguish. Yet I had no choice but to forge ahead. I ventured into the outdoors, desperate to confront the storm of emotions raging within me. I roamed through parks and streets that once felt like home, searching for refuge in the mundane. Yet, beneath the surface, a chilling truth gnawed at my heart. This farewell with Edward was the ultimate shattering of my spirit, and I was left to summon every ounce of strength to forge ahead. As the gravity of my mistakes crashed over me like a relentless tide, I found myself trapped in the suffocating silence of my apartment. The walls, once a sanctuary, now loomed ominously, encircled by boxes that held remnants of a life I had shattered. Outside, the rain lashed against the window, each drop a reminder of my despair, blurring the world beyond and reflecting the turmoil raging within me. Every morning, I awoke engulfed into profound void. The once cherished rituals breakfast with Daniel, our invigorating morning walks, the vibrant plans for the weekend had transformed into haunting memories, mere shadows of what once was. The weight of my loss crashed down upon me, a brutal awakening that pierced through the numbness, forcing me to confront the stark and unforgiving truth of my existence. Each day began as a battle, a desperate search for solace in the remnants of joy that had long since faded. I ran through the park, the very ground echoing with memories of Daniel by my side, each step a haunting reminder of my profound loss. I threw myself into work, hoping to drown out the relentless tide of sorrow, but the suffocating silence of my apartment upon my return was a torment I could hardly bear. The loss struck with a ferocity that left me reeling as I confronted the remnants of my former life. Each item, once a symbol of our shared dreams and aspirations, now served as a dagger of guilt and bitterness. Twisting deeper with every memory, every photograph, every cherished object became a relentless reminder of what was lost, carving painful scars into my heart that throbbed with anguish. One fateful day, I stumbled upon an ancient box brimming with letters and photos that Daniel and I had amassed throughout our tumultuous years together. As I sank to the floor, I began to sift through the treasures, and the tears surged forth, overwhelming me once more. I wept, my heart shattering under the weight of the haunting memories that flooded back, each one a dagger to my soul. Every heartbeat echoed like a thunderclap against my conscience, a relentless reminder of the devastation I had wrought upon something that once stood firm and resolute. Slowly, the void of my existence began to suffocate me, leaving a chilling emptiness that gnawed at my soul. The job that had once ignited a fire within me now felt like a hollow shell, merely a tedious passage through the relentless march of time. My friends, once inseparable, now felt like shadows, and I came to the harrowing realization that my betrayal had shattered not just my bond with Daniel, but the very fabric of my existence. Each night, I lay in bed, consumed by darkness, my gaze fixed on the ceiling as memories tormented me. I grasped the devastating truth. I had lost everything that mattered, leaving an aching void in my heart. My family, my home, my very essence of hope for the future. A storm of questions raged within me, each one more haunting than the last, leaving me in a suffocating silence. I grappled with the memories, desperately trying to uncover the reasons behind my reckless actions, and the chilling realization of how I had so carelessly shattered the fragile world I had painstakingly constructed over the years. Edward and I had gone our separate ways, though I hoped for closure. I was left with silence, a reminder of the price of misplaced trust, for a glimmer of understanding. But what I got was a cold farewell that plunged me deeper into this desolate abyss. I fought fiercely to rebuild my life, pouring every ounce of strength into the effort. Yet nothing could resurrect the shattered pieces of what once was. I desperately sought solace in unfamiliar faces and fleeting distractions. Yet nothing could fill the gaping void of my loss. The vibrant life I once cherished, brimming with meaning and purpose, now lay shattered, stripped of all hope. In moments of despair, I wrestled with my choices, struggling to convince myself that every decision I made was a crucial step toward an uncertain future. Yet, no matter how fervently I tried, the guilt and regret clung to me like a shadow, relentless and suffocating. I was acutely aware that my choices had unleashed a storm, obliterating everything I held dear, a truth that gnawed at my very soul. In the oppressive silence of my new apartment, I was haunted by the relentless echoes of my decisions, each moment a piercing reminder of the devastation I had wrought. A harsh truth began to dawn on me. The path to recovery stretched out before me, daunting and fraught with challenges. I grappled with the desperate need to summon the strength to push onward. Yet each dawn brought a cruel reminder of the devastation that had consumed my life. The remnants of my past lay in ruins, and only the relentless passage of time held the promise of healing the deep scars I had carved into my soul. Each glance in the mirror was a piercing reminder of the profound losses that haunted me, a reflection of my shattered existence. My life now stands as a twisted maze of regrets and broken dreams. I often find myself grappling with the haunting question of how I could have recklessly obliterated everything I cherished, all for a fleeting desire that once appeared so innocent. In the harsh light of reflection, I realized that every moment of joy and every shred of hope could have been spared from this devastating fate. What once felt like an irresistible emotional pull now revealed itself as a devastating mistake spiraled into a devastating catastrophe that shattered my existence. I yearned for a warning, a sign that could have illuminated the dark path ahead, enabling me to change my fate. Yet, that chance slipped through my fingers, leaving me to grapple with the aftermath alone. Listen closely, for my words carry weight. Do not allow fleeting desires to steer your fate. Before you plunge into a decision that could alter the course of your life, pause and consider the profound consequences that may follow. Above all, hold tightly to those who stand by you, who cherish and uplift you. Do not allow a momentary temptation to shatter the foundation you have painstakingly constructed over the years. Guard your relationships and your self-respect fiercely, for they hold far greater significance than any fleeting excitement. Through the crucible of my own anguish, I have grasped this lesson, and I fervently wish that my torment serves as a beacon for others to evade the same pitfalls. Always remember, every choice you make carries weight, and the repercussions of those choices can haunt your existence for years, casting long shadows over your future. 3.